Hello, it is day 2, evening session of Drop Your Money Story and Fund the Life of Your Dreams. I have to tell y'all, I am so excited at what is going on in this group, at you all showing up and sharing. And I'm going to continue to go through your comments and work with you and share with you. So keep at it. A big part of this is showing up for yourself and then making decisions, creating new thoughts, creating new feelings, using new words to create what you need and what you want. The thing I'm going to start doing at this point in our process is I am going to dare you to desire. That is right. Some of you are so stuck still in need. All these stories coming up, you've been programmed and conditioned with, you're wasting money. Do you really need that? Do you really need that? All of these things coming up around need and getting so caught up in that. Do you dare to desire? Your desires were put inside of you by your soul and by spirit for a purpose. It is universal law that wherever there is a desire, a way has already been made. This is another one I can absolutely assure you. I've worked with it. I still get caught up. Do I trust it? Do I trust myself? Do I trust spirit? Do I trust the process? But I do. I absolutely know wherever there is a desire, a way has already been made. It has to be. Now remember, that way is going to show up and it can be inconvenient and uncomfortable and illogical steps to getting there. And yet a way has been made. I want you just to see if you can even go there with me, if you can even believe it, because I'm daring you to desire. I want you to make a list of the 10 things and conditions I want in my life right now. 10 things and conditions I want in my life right now. And I want you to make a list and I want you to tap into your desire. Some of them can be things you really need and some of them are things you really want. And then I want you to notice what comes up if you dare to desire. And if you even dare to make a clear ask to the universe for what you desire. This is going to be a big shift, but we don't wait until all our needs are met and we don't have any money issues or problems before we start desiring. Desire raises your vibration just like joy does. You need to give yourself permission to desire. There's some stuff coming up again about the church and how the church trained you not to want. Thou shalt not want, someone said. Don't want. Don't covet what your neighbors have. All of these things that are inside of us, and yet we have these desires to be more, to do more, to have more. And you're going to want to learn to trust them. So I'm daring you to desire, to go beyond need. Two interesting things came up that I made note of when I've been interacting with you all today and reading that. One was, people are looking at the evidence of what is and making stories. And what does universal law say? Whatever you say is. So if you argue for your limitations, if you tell the universe, but this is what I'm seeing, and this is what I'm hearing, and this is what I know, and here's what I'm experiencing, so it must be XYZ, then you are going to get XYZ. This is another shift that really takes some practice. It's like a muscle. It's like training. It's like physiologically rearranging it. And that is to not fall into the evidence that you see, because I know you've experienced this before, where so much is going on behind the scenes. So much is going on that you can't see. And it's learning to trust that and not just looking at the evidence. I've had huge things come into my life when I said, I'm not buying the evidence I'm seeing, because I know the clear ask I've made. I know I'm doing my part, and I know this isn't how the story ends, and this isn't all there is. This is not about being an ostrich and hiding your head in the sand, but it's also not about only going on the evidence you're seeing in the moment. There is a big rule of thumb that successful people do in the entrepreneurial world, and that is they make decisions based on where they want to be, not where they are. You can start practicing this. Just catch yourself right now when you're getting too caught up in the evidence. The evidence is just people's perceptions. Things have not come into form yet. Here's how things come into form for you in manifesting: your vibration, your energy, your thoughts, your emotions, which are energy in motion, your words, your powerful intentions. Impress upon the creative void and the substance there and create form. If you are intending and acting, and then you start telling the story of the evidence you're seeing, you start impressing that on the substance, and that's the form you get back, and it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. I really want you to pay attention where too early you're relying on only what you're seeing. Wayne Dyer took, I'll believe it when I see it, and he flipped it on its head. I will see it when I believe it. I will see it when I believe it. Make your list, keep it. And as you make these shifts, and as your vibration changes, and as you're going along, you'll be able to go back and see the things that happen. You're making a clear ask to the universe, so the universe can come on board and do some of the heavy lifting. Then you hand it over in the way of your list, tuck it in somewhere, and then you become hyper alert to everything that shows up, every opportunity, every signal, every sign, everything that looks like an obstacle. Because the other piece of universal law that trips people up a lot is what you think is in the way is the way. What you think is in the way is the way. Really let that land and work on this one. The more you get caught up in the evidence and you start telling the stories prematurely, you will start receiving that. It has to be its universal law. And the second one is people bringing up fear of change. This is a real one. It is hardwired into us. Our ego wants to keep us safe and comfortable and alive. And change equals unknown. And for some people, they equate change could lead to death, literal or otherwise. And so people fear change, and it becomes crippling and paralyzing. And yet when you embrace change, that's when you live the adventurous, amazing, abundant life. Because if you look out in nature, nature is all change. Nature is seasons and rhythms and cycles. It's always changing, but we get stuck and we don't want to change. And what we do to ourselves is we stay in places and relationships and circumstances and situations and environments that are safe and comfortable and familiar, even when they no longer serve us. And we recreate them because they are safe and they are comfortable and they are familiar, even when they no longer serve us. That's why other people looking in from the outside say, why would you stay in that marriage? Why would you stay in that job? Why would you stay in that friendship? Why do you keep volunteering your time here? Whatever it is. And you've got to go beyond this conditioning and programming. Fear can serve to move you toward what you want. And change is what happens to lead you to more. Another universal law, nature is always about more life. Spirit will never speak to you in fear. People will say, my angel said, my guide said, Spirit said. You've got to make sure it's really spiritual guidance and not your ego, because Spirit never speaks to you in fear, lack, or limitation. Spirit wants for you what you want. And then you have to become the person who can be, do, and have that. Spirit wants what you desire. Remember, dare to desire. Spirit won't limit. It won't tell you no. That is your ego. And you've got to learn between what you think is intuition and your angels and your guides. It's always about more life. Look in nature everywhere. Yes, thinking and talking about money equals fear for you. And not wanting to talk and think about money. If you had a relationship with a person and you never wanted to think about them or talk about them, and you were always afraid if you talked about them and you would run away from them, that relationship would not be good. Money's not going to stay around. Money loves attention. Think about these things. I also see people in there that you all are going without tires your car needs, and then having micro leaks of energy that could be used for creating and manifesting because you're driving down the road. Oh my gosh, what if my tire blows? What am I going to do? What is that? What did I hear? What is that? Oh my gosh, how am I going to come up with the money for this? And you need a computer for your livelihood, but you're afraid to do it. And then you're saying, well, I better not do it during Mercury retrograde. I'm going to tell you, because Mercury retrograde is all over the internet, all over the place. It's a story. It's real, but learn about it. It's a story. And if you say, oh, Mercury retrograde's going to screw everything up, I can't use it, then that is the story you will have to live. I use this great example every year when flu season rolls around and people start saying, oh, it's flu season. People are going to get the flu. Better get your flu shot. Oh, I always get sick during flu season. If you buy into flu season, then you're going to participate in flu season. If you expect flu season, I don't buy into it. I don't make it more than it is. I've never had a flu shot and I've never had the flu, and I'll knock on wood right now, but it's true. I don't buy into it. In Mercury retrograde, I am respectful of what it is and I understand it, but I'm not going to expect my technology to go crazy. I'm not going to not sign contracts. I'm not going to communicate. It's Mercury retrograde and I'm getting new clients and I'm running this program right now. I've got all kinds of things going on. These are all beliefs and stories you're creating. Same with your money stories. So when you need new tires and you need a new computer and you spend so much time and energy fretting and worrying and being afraid about it and telling stories, you don't believe that you can create and receive the money for what you need and what you want. That's a trust issue. Where did you have those trust issues growing up? Did people promise you things and then retract it? Did you never get your needs met when you really needed something? Did things get pulled out from under you? Could you never make it happen? Or could you just not trust the people that were supposed to take care of your well-being? Even parents who meant well, this is not always about serious abuse, neglect. Even parents who meant well, they made mistakes. They created these things from way down the line. So start with that belief. You don't believe you can create the money and receive the money for what you need. Oh, now you hit a button. Yes, this is all about triggers and buttons. So you can open it up, see what's there, let the power go so it doesn't control you anymore, and shift it. It all starts with discover. So stay with it. This is when I tell clients who start getting triggered and buttons get hit, I say it's all about staying in the room, doing the deep inner work, doing the shadow work, staying with it. Not everybody will. A lot of people won't. They'll use addictions. They'll numb out. They'll be victims. They'll use excuses. Think about this. What if you can create the money and receive the money for what you need? This whole journey is a big trust journey times 3 I talk about all the time. Trust spirit, trust yourself, and trust the process. Some of you really do not trust yourself. Some of you do not trust spirit, and some of you do not trust the process in varying degrees. Yeah, same with the flu. Now apply that approach to always being in good health, to money. Yes, Ida, exactly. They're all stories. And some stories I refuse to tell and I don't live them, and other stories I still tell and I live them. This is called Drop Your Money Story, because a lot of you need money, you want money, and that's where we're starting. But this applies to all of it. This is all universal law, energy, quantum physics, and psychology. I'm a former therapist. I'm a psychologist. I'm an expert in human behavior and multi-generational patterns. It's for all of it. We're just focusing on money because it's something you need right now and it's very tangible. But you see how it drips into every area of your life. I always had a mentor and people would say, money isn't everything. And he'd say, no, money isn't everything, but it touches everything that is important. It is. So then I also see you all making your buying decisions from someone else's program. Catch yourself, catch it and stop it. You've been telling stories of being in the store and things are coming out of your mouth and they're not even yours and they're not even real. Are you really broke if you put one more thing in your cart that you kind of need? Or what if you put something in there that you desire? Are you really going to go broke in that moment? And what if you buy the shirt? Or what if you buy the sweatshirt? When you are making buying decisions from someone else's program, this needs to be about you and your money and getting right with your money and not playing other people's programs out. We pick up other people's programs and beliefs and we carry them around and we agree to carry them and play them out, and then we hand them down the line. It can stop with you. Now, I want to talk to you also about value. This is not about your value. People will say your bank account reflects your value, and I want to be clear what this is. You showed up here on the planet with gifts, skills, abilities, experiences, hardships, obstacles, disabilities, the full gamut, strengths and weaknesses, all of it. You are a precious child of God. You are a divine spark. a ray off the main sun, which is source. You have intrinsic value. It's like I talked about this morning on the video, the law of giving and receiving. You have something to offer and something to receive in every moment if you'll stand in the river and be part of the law of giving and receiving. People who have more money in their bank accounts are providing more value out into the world. People always pay for what they value. You're holding back on what you really came here to contribute. You're holding back on the value you have to put out into the world, and that is what your bank account is reflecting. Your value that you're putting out into the world. I was talking to one person in the group that I know because we're working together in another program. She's literally sitting on a gold mine. She's made lots of money before in other ways. So her energy field knows how to make the money, and all these fears and all these things she's playing out. You are sitting on a gold mine. Why? What are you sitting on and why? What could you offer in the world right now? And somebody could pay you something for it, which would start the flow. People are getting ready for way too long. If you're in a traditional job and it's not about starting your own business, are you looking for the next step up? Are you seeing what's out there? Are you putting yourself out there for what you can really contribute? This is something to really think about. I want you to start thinking about the key shifts. We talked about not enough and just enough. Both of those can be shifted to more than enough. And what tends to happen is disbelief, guilt, shame, reading the evidence in the moment instead of taking into account what's happening behind the scenes. What does that bring up for you if all of a sudden you had more than enough? That's what you've got to see. If you don't have more than enough, something is serving you in not having it, and that program is stronger than having it. What would happen if you had more than enough right now without guilt or shame or concern about what everybody else has? Yes, investing your money into you, into your personal and spiritual growth and development, into your business growth and development, into you. One of the reasons you want to make money, some people get caught in, well, I don't want a lot of money. I don't need a lot of money. But for those of you who do any kind of intuitive and healing arts work, it takes extreme self-care, and that costs money. It takes extreme self-care. Being a perfectionist is a coping mechanism and a protection, and it can be used as an excuse. We're hardwired for it. It can be a superpower, but it can also hold you back. I work with lots of perfectionists. I know. Part of my success has been because I am willing, and I have taught myself to be perfectly imperfect and get things out there. It's something that can be changed so you can turn it into your superpower. For instance, a lot of people I know that are empaths. I'm an empath. I always have been. They say, I'm so sensitive, this and that. I can't do this. I can't do that. From everything from where they can go, environments, people, food, all of that. And yet your empathic abilities are your superpower. And when I learned superb energetic management, I turned what was taking me down being an empath into a superpower that has turned into a full-time 12-year-old online thriving global business. Everything you see has been everything that you see. I stopped for a second to read. Y'all are asking great questions. Everything that you experience and see as a weakness also is a superpower. Lisa's asking, how do you find your gifts and value to the world? I failed in every endeavor. I don't know if you've ever worked with other people. I have not been without a coach since 2009. I've invested in myself in that arena. And I will go into the group and I will also tell you other resources. I have a lot of answers for that, but I want to plant the seed. If you really are serious about it, working with somebody that can help you with that. If you're trying to do it on your own and figure it out on your own, I have literally not been without a coach since 2009, and I never would be. And I would not hire a coach who does not have a coach. So that's my soapbox and spiel. But I have a few more things that I want to tell you. So extreme self-care costs money, and making the impact you're called to make as a spiritual teacher and a messenger, it costs money. It costs money online. In the beginning, I teach you organic and free ways. Thank goodness we have Facebook. When I started my business, we didn't even have Facebook. We certainly didn't have Facebook Live till a few years ago. There's so many avenues to get yourself out there and test it all out for free. It's amazing. Why would you not? Because of guilt and shame and unworthiness and lack of confidence and lack of clarity. So I also want you to know this piece when I was just talking to Lisa. Confusion is an excuse. If you're confused for any amount of time, because if you are confused, there are two things. Either you need to find something out, so buy a book, sign up for a course, hire an expert to teach it to you, go to the library, research it, internet, Google it, whatever. You need to know something and it's out there, or you need to clear, heal, and resolve something, then you need to get help doing that. When you allow yourself to stay in confusion, this is key. People let this go on for years. It is an excuse, a convenient excuse, and a coping mechanism. I'm going to plant that seed. And when you're getting sick, yes, you're bringing that up. When you're getting sick, when you step into your work, it's because of the things that are not cleared, healed, and resolved. I have so many years where every time I started to get big and put myself out there, I got really sick and I took myself out. I had an undiagnosed illness for 7 years that when I finally opened my business and showed up as who I am, it never came back. This is real, y'all. Really, y'all are asking great questions. I want to also tell you I have a video on YouTube and Facebook called, I just put it up the other day. Yes, confusion is an excuse. Hashtag Ida. I have a video out there on YouTube called Don't Make Me Talk About Mother Teresa, y'all. And if you have not watched it yet, watch it. I will give it to you all because this is one of the biggest fallacy stories. Every time people want to fall out and make excuses in my world of helpers and healers, they say, but Mother Teresa. I'm just going to tell you a minute of it and then you can watch the whole thing if you're interested. Mother Teresa, this blew the lid off for me. I changed my life over this. Mother Teresa was the CEO of a billion-dollar corporation. Her assistant wrote a book about it finally. Yes, Amy, she was rich. She chose to serve the poor and go into those places, but she traveled everywhere by private jet and private car, and she had an entourage, and all her needs were met. That is a BS story people have fed about Mother Teresa. She could not have done what she did. If you all follow Alma the Hugging Saint, she's still alive. I love Alma the Hugging Saint. Same thing. She gives so much away in the world. She has a billion-dollar corporation that funds her and her entourage to travel the world. She builds orphanages. She does selfless service. She has an ashram, but she has money. This is so funny when I talk about this because I tell you with so much conviction now. And yet I'm telling you all, there was a time this freaked me out and I played it out and I couldn't get past it. I had a coach quite a few years back, and I couldn't break even making $50,000 in my business. I'd never made $50,000 in my life. And my coach, I was in a mastermind with a coach, and we were doing an intensive, and she kept asking all the time, yes, Alma's hugs are amazing. She kept asking, what are you afraid to tell people? What are you afraid for anyone to know? And here's how we can really fool ourselves. This is crazy. So I fully believed it. I was a therapist, so I had to train in therapy before being a therapist. Then I went to seminary. We had to get into our stuff there. Before being a therapist, I went through therapy when I was in a toxic marriage. Then I've been through energy healing. I do a lot of work on myself. I kept telling her, I want to answer this question. I know there's a breakthrough here for me. I don't know what it is. I'm very transparent. Those of you who've been in my world, I share all my experiences. I share what I'm going through. I share my stuff with you. I really couldn't come up with it. I worked with her for 3 years, and I kept showing up at the intensives, and I kept saying, I don't know what it is. There's nothing I'm afraid to tell these people in my community. And then I had a breakthrough when I was ready to hear it and see it. And here it is. It choked me up. I got tears, and I said, why am I crying? Because what I am afraid to tell people is that I want to make great money in my business. And I know a lot of healers and helpers can relate, and other entrepreneurs and business people are like, what? Think how crazy this is when I break it down. I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to have a business. Business equals making money, or you don't have a business. I could choose to be a volunteer. I could choose to have a nonprofit. You already know I get on my soapbox. If you're not a 501c3, you do not ask for love donations. You're a business, and a business makes money. And yet I was afraid for people to know. The worst thing I could imagine is for people to say, oh, she's all about the money. And my worst fear came true, and I had to work through it, because at some point in my business, when I overcame that, some people turned on me in my spiritual community that were happy when I was a broke healer and struggling and part of the tribe. And all of a sudden they were saying, now she's only about the money. It's all just our crap. So my coach encouraged me to make a video. It's on YouTube, what I am most afraid to tell you. I'll share that one with you too, because these are videos you can be making. These are messages you have to share in the world. When I faced that fear and I got my first hate mail and I got beyond it, everything opened up for me, but I was holding myself back. I don't know what fear I have. I don't know. I'm so confused. And then wham, right between the eyes, I am afraid to tell people I want to make money in my business. Crazy, but it's part of my stuff to be cleared, healed, and resolved. And every layer, then I've up-leveled and hit new money goals and been able to have a bigger business and help more people and travel all over. Now I travel all over, training and doing the work and serving people and running my business online from home. All of that costs money. But first what I did was I said, I have a business. Head in the sand, ostrich, head in the sand. I created a very expensive hobby, and I created some financial disaster for my family because I was afraid to be about the money, and I was afraid to have a business and want to make money. Yes, talking about working for a 501c3. So this is so much a part of my program. I'm glad you brought that up, that I'll show you how insidious this is. There's nothing wrong with nonprofits and 501c3, but it is very interesting to get in those environments with money programs people are running, because there was so much dysfunction and illness and people just suffering. And if you're suffering, it's not working. How are you going to help the people you're helping when you're struggling and suffering? There's so much burnout in those environments and poverty mentality and scarcity. I had so many issues about asking for money that for the first decade of my career as a helper and healer, I only worked. I didn't recognize it at the time. I recognized it once I started clearing, healing, and resolving it. I really want you to get this. It's so insidious we don't even realize. I started having problems and created a very expensive hobby and created financial disaster because I didn't want to be about the money and I didn't want people to know I wanted to make money. So it was safer for me to still be this broke healer doing good in the world, because otherwise it really happened. Some of my spiritual community turned on me for a while, but then that wasn't a good community to be in, right? Toxic. I realized I had spent a decade protecting myself from this fear. I worked for nonprofits, government organizations, hospitals, until I had my own business. I had never been paid by the people I helped. I'd always been paid by donations, grants, and governments. Think about that. It was a protection. So then I go into business for myself and I'm being paid by the people I'm helping. And I realize people are empowered when they invest in their own healing. I got so jaded in the nonprofit and victim services world. Somebody needs to be serving them. It is not my place with my message and my journey and my mission at this point. I got very jaded. But do you see how I didn't even realize I set that up for a decade so I wouldn't have to deal with it? Now, here's the funny part. Because in my book, From Calling to Cash, Drop Your Money Story is one of the chapters, which we're working on right now. And one of my other chapters is Understand Who You Are. And I talk about a lot of tools. So here I'm telling you how I set myself up for a decade. I had these fears in numerology, in human design, in astrology, in the Enneagram, in everything I have studied about myself. My purpose and mission includes primarily dealing with money, power, ambition, and authority. Money, power, ambition, and authority. So I created these lessons for myself. Do you see how it all makes sense? And I had to unravel it. And that was with help and being willing to go into the shadow. Thank you for coming on. It's great to have you. Being willing to dive deep and to dive deeper with people that can help me. And that's what I'm helping you with here and what I'm going to continue to help you with if you choose to do that. I love all these comments. I cannot wait to go and read them and respond to them. They're flying by and this is helping everyone. You all are showing up so much. So I want you to see this whole big thing I created and lived out. I'm helping people, but I'm not allowing any of the people I'm helping to pay me. So I only am working in these places where I'm being paid by government grants, donations, and organizations and all of that. And then I open my own business and business equals money. And I'm still playing it out. And at some point, I have to face my biggest fear. I was sick and sweating and a mess Just going on Facebook Live because my coach told me to and making that video. Now I'm good with it. Although I still feel a clench in my stomach and my solar plexus because it's still one of my core issues. I'm still working through it. I know there are other layers of it, of how I got there, but I'm aware of it. And I went on to break the $50,000 barrier, to cross the $100,000 mark, and to create a profitable, sustainable business. But for a while there, I was spinning and spinning and spinning. And do you see, there are plenty of proven strategies out there. I know them all. I teach them. I use them. But this was mindset. Mindset equals success. And in the past, at least 4 years, 5 years, all of my coaches and mentors have had million-dollar and multi-million-dollar businesses. And they tell me the higher up you get with success, the more it's about the mindset. That's why we're doing this important mindset work. It's not going to go away. It's going to become more and more about the mindset. And the beginning, you need to learn the strategies. You can have a go-get-em attitude and a good mindset. And if you don't have the strategies, you'll keep saying, why isn't this working? But once you know the strategies, you have to be able to become the person who can carry out those strategies. And in the 12 years, in all of it, I will tell you, it is in the becoming and the mindset. So I applaud you all for showing up and doing this important work now, wherever you are. I want you to know there is always a way forward from wherever you now stand. There's always a way forward from wherever you now stand. And this is a peeling of the onion. And I also want you to recognize, because I've done this enough times now, it's a spiral. It's not linear. Heal your mother stuff. Now heal your money stuff. Now heal this. Every time you clear, heal, and resolve, you change your energy and you come back around to the same core issues from a different energetic stance, and you keep working on them to attain more and more freedom and more success. And if you're a helper and healer of any kind, you have to do this work because you have to clear your vessel to bring through your life's work. This is the difference in not living your purpose, living your purpose, and living your higher purpose. I was not living my purpose, then I was living my purpose, and now I've moved into living my higher purpose. Higher purpose living. I've been talking about this a lot the past 2 years especially. It's a journey. It's a process all along the way. You're becoming. You're about more life. You're being, doing, and having more. So think about all of that. When I was running that expensive hobby that I was crying every day, creating financial disaster, saying I didn't want it, there was a part of me that wanted it to keep me safe and protected, that won. Until I said no more. I brought it. It was driving the bus. I brought it from the unconscious to the conscious. I used to have a mentor that would talk about there are rats in the cellar. And at first you don't notice and you kind of go, I think something's going on down there that's not great. And then they start really making a ruckus, and then you're holding the floor down, and finally you deal with the rat problem and you clear it out. It's like that. Whatever is unconscious is driving your bus. Carl Jung has a quote, and I'm not going to try to say it exactly. You all have probably seen it or look it up. Everything that remains unconscious drives everything, and you call it fate. And then people say it was just my fate, and those people have luck, and it's just my fate. It's the unconscious driving your bus. Let me look really quick. I've had notes, and I want to make sure I get to everything. So we've done discover, and we've done shift. And I'm daring you to desire, and I'm daring you to make your 10 things and conditions I want in my life list. I've been using this tool for years. It works. You will be amazed. Just writing it down and setting the intentions and doing something with it, then putting it away. And then when I pull it back out, and I would be going, why did this happen? And why didn't this happen? And why did that happen? And why did that show up? And then I look on my list at what I asked for. It all is related. That's what I want you to do. Tomorrow, we're going to move into act. Discover, shift, act, believe, create. I'm going to leave you with that. I'll be reading your comments. Keep putting your stories. We'll keep working through it. Y'all have made great comments tonight. When you have time, go in and read what everybody's writing. And I'm going to work with all your comments, and we're going to keep working. And I will see you again tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Central Time. Have a great night. I'll see you tomorrow.